How do you make your wife crave and genuinely desire you again without sitting her down for a difficult conversation, without buying her things, and without begging for her attention? That is the question I want to answer for you today. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand something that most men in long-term relationships never figure out until it is far too late. Have you found yourself asking the question, why does my wife not look at me the way she used to? Because there was a time when she reached for your hand without thinking about it. A time when she kissed you for absolutely no reason. A time when she flirted with you, teased you, looked at you from across a room with that expression that made it completely clear she wanted you. And now it feels like you are living with a very pleasant, very organized, very responsible roommate. The spark is gone. The physical warmth has faded. Sex, when it happens at all, feels more like something being checked off a list than an expression of genuine desire. And you cannot figure out what changed or how to get back to what you once had. I am Dr. Julia Rhodes, a men's sex therapist with over a decade of experience working with different couples and helping men regain their sexual health and strength back. I have sat across from hundreds of men in exactly this situation. Men who are loving, committed, hard-working husbands who are quietly devastated by the loss of desire and intimacy in their marriages and who have no idea what they are doing wrong or how to turn it around. And before we go any further, I need you to do something right now. If this channel is new to you, subscribe immediately and turn on your notifications. Every week, I bring you honest, clinically grounded, deeply practical guidance on the things that matter most in your sexual and relational life. The things nobody else is talking about directly and openly. If today's video helps you, share it. Send it to a man in your life who is quietly going through the same thing. Your willingness to share this content is what helps more men find the answers they desperately need. Now, let us get into it. Here is the first thing I need you to understand, and it is foundational to everything else I am going to share with you today. She did not stop loving you. In the vast majority of cases, when a wife's desire cools and the physical intimacy fades in a marriage, it is not because she stopped caring about her husband. It is not because she is no longer attracted to men in general. It is because something very specific happened to the dynamic between the two of you. Something I refer to in my practice as the polarity collapse. And most men have no idea it is happening until the damage is already significant and the distance is already wide. Let me explain what polarity means in the context of a romantic relationship. Every healthy, sexually alive, long-term relationship runs on dynamic tension between complementary energies. There is a grounded, leading, directing energy, and a more receptive, responsive, surrendering energy. When those two poles are clearly and consistently present, the attraction between two people is magnetic. Desire flows naturally and consistently. But here's what happens over the course of a long marriage, particularly when life gets complicated, when responsibilities accumulate, when stress builds up. Men gradually, almost imperceptibly, begin to abandon that leading, grounded, directed energy. Not because they are bad husbands, often because they are trying to be good ones. They start checking in constantly. They defer to her preferences on everything. They tiptoe around her moods. They ask permission before doing anything that might upset her. They wait for signs that she is in the mood before they will even consider being affectionate or flirtatious. They have become so conditioned by repeated rejection or emotional distance that they are now afraid of their own wives. And the moment all of that begins to happen consistently, the polarity collapses. the magnetic tension disappears. And when the tension disappears, so does the desire. I work with men who have assumed what I would describe as a passive management role in the emotional life of their marriages. They propose therapy, ask their wives if they are okay, apologize constantly, and adjust to accommodate her in every direction. On the surface, that sounds like good partnership. But what it communicates on a primal biological level to a woman's nervous system is uncertainty and a lack of inner groundedness. Women's nervous systems are wired to scan for and respond to masculine steadiness and containment. Not aggression, not control, but the quiet, unshakable presence of a man who knows who he is and does not need her approval to feel secure. When a woman stops feeling that from her husband, something shifts in her. She does not consciously decide to stop being attracted to him. It happens below the level of rational thought. She begins relating to him differently. She starts managing him rather than responding to him. And the moment she feels like she is managing you, the sexual and romantic dynamic between you is effectively dead. It does not announce itself loudly. It just quietly expires. There is also something that very few people in the relationship space discuss honestly. Women test their partners, not maliciously, not deliberately, but as an unconscious biological process that never fully stops, regardless of how long you have been together. A woman's nervous system continuously gathers data about whether the man she is with is genuinely strong and grounded, or whether that strength was always a performance. When she is snippy, she is watching how you respond. When she criticizes a decision, she is watching whether you get defensive or stay calm. When she throws an emotional challenge at you, she is watching whether you hold your ground with warmth and quiet confidence or get pulled into the storm. When you fail these tests, which most men do because nobody ever explained what was happening, she gradually loses respect. And here is something critically important. For women, desire and respect are not separate things. They are deeply intertwined. A woman cannot consistently desire a man she does not fundamentally respect. When you explain yourself excessively, seek her approval, or apologize for things that require no apology, that is what erodes her respect. And when respect erodes, desire follows. I had a client who came to me after years of exactly this pattern. He told me that he had been at a petrol station and saw a woman leaning into her partner, laughing, completely relaxed and affectionate in the most ordinary and natural way. And he sat in his car afterward and cried. Not because he wanted another woman, but because he could not remember the last time his own wife had looked at him or touched him with that kind of natural, effortless warmth. He did not need more. He just wanted what he used to have. And that is the kind of quiet pain that I see in so many of the men I work with. So if this is resonating with you, if you are reading yourself in what I am describing, then here is what I need you to hear with complete clarity. You cannot talk your way back into her attraction. You cannot negotiate your way back into desire. You cannot be sweet enough, accommodating enough, or apologetic enough to reignite what has gone cold. The only thing that works is reclaiming the masculine energy that you have been quietly surrendering, one small compromise and one moment of hesitation at a time. And that is what the 6 switches I am about to walk you through are designed to help you do. Switch 1. Stop seeking permission and start giving direction. This is the first and perhaps most foundational shift you need to make. And it starts in the smallest, most seemingly insignificant moments. Pay attention to how often throughout a normal day You defer to her. How often do you ask, "What do you feel like doing?" Or, "Where do you want to eat?" Or, "Should we do something this weekend?" These are not inherently terrible questions, but when they become your default mode of operating in the relationship, when you never lead, never decide, never direct, they accumulate into a pattern that communicates profound uncertainty. Masculine energy does not continually seek a green light. It chooses a direction and moves. So the next time you feel the urge to ask, try this instead. Decide. Say, "We're going out Friday evening. You deserve a proper night out." When she asks about weekend plans and suggests inviting other people, try responding with something like, "Actually, I want you to myself this weekend. I found somewhere I want to take you." You are not dismissing her. You are not being controlling. You are leading. You are creating direction and certainty. And on a level she may not even consciously register, that is extraordinarily attractive. The feminine energy in a woman wants to relax into a grounded, confident, masculine direction. It does not want to carry the weight of every decision. When you step back into that leading role, something in her begins to open in a way it simply cannot when you are perpetually deferring. Switch 2. Break the predictable pattern. Predictability is the slow death of desire in any long-term relationship. When she can map out exactly what you are going to do on Tuesday evening and Saturday morning and every holiday weekend for the foreseeable future, the sense of aliveness and mystery that is essential to sustained attraction gradually bleeds away. Routine feels safe. It also feels completely unsexy. This does not require elaborate or expensive gestures. It requires intentionality and an element of surprise. Come home on a Wednesday evening and say, "Pack an overnight bag. We are leaving in an hour." Even if it is just a modest hotel nearby with room service, the statement you are making is not about luxury. It is about desire. It communicates that you thought about her, that you made a plan with her specifically in mind, and that you are willing to disrupt your comfortable routine because she is worth disrupting it for. That energy, that willingness to be spontaneous and directed, is enormously powerful. She does not need extravagance. She needs to feel that you are still capable of surprising her, that you still see her as worth pursuing, and that the man who once created excitement and mystery in her life still exists inside the man she lives with now. Switch 3. Replace planned date nights with genuine, spontaneous pursuit. I want to address something that I know is going to challenge what many of you have been told. The planned, scheduled, calendar-marked date night is not the solution to a loss of desire. In many cases, it is actively making things worse. I work with couples who dutifully schedule date nights every 2 weeks based on advice they received from a couples therapist or read in a relationship book. And they sit across from each other at a restaurant feeling the full, awkward weight of two people trying very hard to manufacture a spark that they cannot seem to locate. Here's the problem with a planned date night in the context of a relationship that has lost its natural erotic energy. It feels like effort. It feels like work. It feels like a strategy rather than a seduction. It signals that the connection between you has become so managed and so scheduled that even your romantic time has to be planned and formalized to happen at all. And nothing extinguishes desire faster than the feeling that you are operating on a relationship maintenance schedule rather than actually wanting each other. What works instead is the energy of genuine, spontaneous pursuit. Walk into the kitchen where she is doing something ordinary and say, "You and me tonight. Put something on that makes you feel good. I am taking you out." Do not ask. direct, do not schedule, pursue. On a random weeknight, pull her away from whatever she is doing and say, "Get in the car with me. I want an hour with you, just the two of us." The energy of that is entirely different from, "Hey, should we do our date night this Saturday?" One feels like desire. The other feels like an obligation both of you agreed to fulfill. When she feels like you are seducing her the way you did when you were first together, that is when something in her wakes back up. That is when she starts to feel like a woman being genuinely wanted by a man, rather than a partner dutifully participating in a scheduled relationship activity. Switch 4. Flirt without needing anything in return. This is the switch that trips up more married men than almost any other. The vast majority of men in relationships only flirt when they want something, when they are hoping the flirting leads somewhere. And as a result, the flirting carries an agenda that women feel immediately, and it collapses the moment she does not respond in the way he was hoping. Real flirtation in the context of a long marriage is not a transaction. It is an expression of who you are. It is you reminding both of you that beneath all the practical responsibilities and routines and roles, you are a man who finds her genuinely attractive and is not too exhausted or too defeated to show it. Flirt when she is cranky. Flirt when she is folding laundry. Flirt when she is in the middle of something completely unglamorous. Those are the moments that matter most, because those are the moments when the flirtation cannot possibly be interpreted as agenda-driven. It is just you being a man who finds his wife desirable, regardless of the circumstances. And critically, when she does not respond enthusiastically, as she often will not at first, do not withdraw. Do not storm off. Do not make her feel your disappointment. Because the moment you do that, you have confirmed that the flirting was always about getting something from her, rather than genuinely expressing your attraction. The flirtation that plants seeds and rebuilds desire over time is the kind that comes with no strings, no expectations, and no pouting when it does not immediately deliver the result you were hoping for. Switch 5. Rebuild sexual tension without chasing sex. Here is one of the most counterintuitive and most important pieces of insight I can share with you about female desire. Women do not primarily crave sex the way men do. Women crave the tension, the anticipation, the unspoken electricity that builds towards sex. The physical act of sex is the destination, but for most women, the journey to get there, the slow build of desire and anticipation, is what actually turns them on. And if you skip the journey and go straight for the destination, she feels nothing. Or worse, she feels pressured. Think about the difference between these two scenarios. In the first, you have been mostly absent all evening, barely interacting, and then at bedtime, you reach for her with obvious intent. In the second, throughout the day, you have grazed her lower back as you walked past her in the kitchen. You held eye contact half a second longer than necessary during a conversation, and then looked away with a slight smile. You leaned in close and said something low and unhurried near her ear, and then simply walked away. You let her catch you watching her from across the room. In the first scenario, she feels like a release valve. In the second, she has been building anticipation for hours. Her mind has been engaged. Her body has been responding to signals. By the time the evening comes, she is already partly there. Men experience desire like a switch, often visual and immediate. Women experience it like a slow fire that needs to be carefully built over time. The tinder is attention, tension, and the feeling of being genuinely wanted by a man who is in no hurry. The flame is the accumulated awareness throughout the day that her husband still sees her, still desires her, still knows how to make her feel like a woman. Learn to build the fire, and you will never have to chase the flame. Switch 6. Let her feel the depth of your desire. There is a profound difference between a man who expresses desire only when he wants physical release and a man whose desire for his wife is simply part of who he is. The first type women experience as pressure. The second they experience as deeply, irresistibly attractive. The goal is not to become more strategic about when you express desire. The goal is to genuinely inhabit a version of yourself in which your attraction for your wife is part of your everyday presence, not reserved exclusively for moments when you want something from her. When she walks into a room, let her see that you noticed. When she is annoyed with you, pull her in close and tell her she is beautiful when she is challenging you. When she is doing something completely ordinary, let her catch you watching her with quiet appreciation. This is not a technique. This is a way of being. When your desire for her becomes part of your presence rather than a request you make periodically, her experience of you changes entirely. She starts to feel seen and chosen in a way that has nothing to do with utility or obligation. She feels like a woman who is wanted by a man who would choose her again and again, not because they are married and that is how it works, but because he genuinely cannot imagine wanting anyone else. And that feeling, the feeling of being truly chosen by a man who desires her from a place of inner strength and abundance, rather than neediness or desperation, is what melts a woman's emotional walls and reawakens her desire from the inside out. Now, I want to say one final and critically important thing. None of these switches work if you are implementing them as tactics to get something you want. Women are extraordinarily attuned to intent, biologically and experientially. If she senses that your sudden increase in confidence, leadership, and masculine presence is a strategy you are running to get more sex, the entire edifice collapses. She will feel it. And it will confirm every suspicion she has had that you are not actually changing, you are just trying a new angle. These switches only work when they are genuine, when you are not doing them for her at all, but reclaiming them for yourself. When you make the decision that this is who you are, a man who leads, a man who is grounded, a man who creates warmth and tension and presence in his own life and relationship, not because he is trying to manipulate a particular outcome, but because that is simply who he chooses to be. When you commit to that, something remarkable begins to happen. At first, she may actually seem less responsive, even briefly cooler. Do not fold. Do not take that as evidence that nothing is working and retreat back into your old patterns. What she is doing is checking whether this is real, whether the man she is seeing now is the genuine article or a temporary performance. Consistency is the proof. If you stay grounded and keep showing up this way, regardless of how she initially responds, her nervous system will eventually register that this is not a tactic. This is him. And when it does, her walls begin to come down. Her feminine energy, which has been in protective mode, slowly starts to relax, and she begins to respond to you the way she used to, not because you talked her into it, but because you gave her nervous system something real and consistent to respond to. You stop being her roommate. You stop being the man she manages. You become again the man she chose, the man she reaches for. Not because you forced it, but because you showed up as someone worth reaching for. That is the real reward here. Not just a better physical relationship, though that will come, but a genuine return to the electric, alive, deeply connected partnership that you both deserve, and that is absolutely possible to rebuild. If today's video gave you something real and actionable, here is what I need you to do. Hit the like button right now, because it helps more men find this channel at the exact moment they need it. Leave a comment below and tell me which of these 6 switches feels most challenging for where you are right now, because I read every comment and your responses shape the content I create for you. Subscribe if you have not already, and turn on your notifications, because every week I am here bringing you honest, evidence-based guidance on men's sexual health and relational well-being. The relationship you want is not out of reach. The man you need to become to get it is already inside you. It is time to let him lead. I am Dr. Julia Rhodes. I will see you in the next video.